Johnnie, a few more things. Mm-hmm. Your name changed. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
And what happened there. And we haven't had a discussion about this.
We have not.
You know, I'm used to calling you the niece.
Yes.
Because that's what I called you and we called you in high school.
Yes.
Right? So, you know, and then, of course, Johnnie. So, look, talk a little bit about that.
So, yeah, I'll start there, too. So, my family calls me the niece, which is the end of my first name and end of my middle name put together. It's actually a family tradition. A lot of our names in our family are made off of two names put together, okay? And my mother did name me Johnnie at birth, but I also felt as if it was too grown of a name to call a baby. Which I agree. What you call a 2-month-old Johnnie for? And so I wasn't used to it. And when kids, kids found out, that my name was Johnnie, I got teased. So I remember it was a good high school friend of mine, Adesela. She just started calling me Johnnie. She was like, "Girl, I don't care, I like it." And she actually made it grow on me too. Yeah. Where I would always get up in the front of class and be like, "Hey, don't call me this." But in college, I also couldn't do that. So that's also when I just started letting people call me Johnnie. And people are like, "No, I like it." Yeah. And I do too. Yeah. And so fast forward through the years, I grew up Christian. Yeah, I did. Okay. And so throughout the years, I also started, just doing different studies and looking into different things. So I started practicing a Yoruba tradition, a spiritual tradition as well. We don't like to call it religion because it's not as a spiritual practice. Gotcha. And so even with that, it still requires growth. Okay. And so I got initiated as a spiritual priest. Wow. And so I am initiated to one of the deities as his name is Ogun. Okay. So, and it's interesting because Ogun, his energy is a worker. He's a healer. Okay. I'm talking about relentless worker. And that's a lot of attributes that I do have, which I already had, but prior to this, it just was already a part of me. Yeah. A lot of things, are already a part of you, regardless. Yeah. And so, so when you start into the tradition initially, they do give you another name. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. But then when I became a priest, I got another name and a title. And then after that, I also got a chiefessy title. So my full name is Oloye Alaka Ibimo, which that's the chiefessy title. Okay. That's the chief of protocol. Gotcha. Iyalorisha Ogunlaniyan, which that's my priest name, which I'm a priest of Ogun. Okay. And then Motun Rayo was my initial name that I got in when I came in. And then the last name is El. Which El is actually it's a Moorish name than the Yoruba tradition, because the people who I study under is actually a part of all types of schools. So I already had some knowledge of like Islam and stuff like that because my uncle is Muslim. Yeah. But coming into there, like the way they had us study and really tap into different parts of just our culture. Yeah. Because, people always want to say that we don't have no culture, and we really do. Yeah. We are multifaceted in what our culture is. And so I think that's why the concept is missed that we do have culture, and there's so many different parts of us that we got to continue to learn and tap into. And I'm so thankful that I met the people that I did again along the way that have exposed me to so much. And also it's helped me to understand who I am as a person. Yeah. Because, we do get lost in whatever society, whoever society is supposed to be. Right. Because you were told one thing, this is who you are, but that's not necessarily who you are. That's not always your makeup. So, and I think that's why, a lot of people end up in a fight or flight situation with growing and being okay with who they are is because they don't really listen to themselves. You can always have faith, because I don't knock anybody with what you believe in, because honestly, God is God in all aspects. Right. Like, I still believe in God. Like that doesn't change anything. And even with our spiritual practice, we still believe in God. Name might be different, of course, which that's in the Bible. Right. But it's always tapping in and being okay and trusting and really turning inward in yourself, which entrepreneurship does do. Because I can honestly say with my spirituality, that is what has grown me the most in being a good entrepreneur and a person.
Wow.
Seriously, and a person.
Yeah.
Just how I navigate, deal with people. Because I have been short fused with people. I still can be short fused with people. But
we both been.
Yeah, but it's fine tuning it because you still need that balance.
Right, exactly.
Because in entrepreneurship, you have people that will get over on you. When you gotta switch up, you're like, nah, we not doing that. That's not what I said. That's not what we're doing.
Exactly.
Because it's what you built and it's the boundary that boundary is used so much, but it's still it's the boundary that is set that's necessary.
Right.
Not only for you, but for your business, because it's the structure, like you said, a schedule. It's making sure you have a whole skeletal makeup to uphold you. Like you need your skeleton to uphold your body.
Right.
You got to have a skeletal foundation to uphold what you've built too.
Right.
You know, and it's all types of stuff that comes into play. Like you don't just have a bone in your arm; you got a whole entire makeup of a skeletal, frame.
Exactly.
And so, I've definitely been grateful for the growth and me being in that space of my spiritual practice too, because it's also who I've always felt myself to be. Like I come in the room and I light up the room. I've always been one that I know that I can provide all types of healing and necessary things for people. And I touch on people all day, every day. All day, every day, where I know I don't have no enemies, which honestly, I just say if somebody doesn't like me, it's just something they don't like in themselves. And that doesn't mean that they're my enemy. I'm not going to make them my enemy.
Right.
Like ever.
Right.
Like, no, I don't have no enemies. Like I'm all about showing love and, like I said, good vibes, because a lot of people don't experience that. Yeah. So people can be uncomfortable sometimes when somebody has a big energy, a bright energy, or they come with a lot of energy because it's just something they're not used to. And it's okay. You still got to show them like, hey, we ain't got to be like that.
Right.
Like, sis, you ain't got to be mad at her. You can still congratulate her.
Exactly.
You still got everybody has their place in life. And a lot of times people get mad or they get hung up on, oh, well, I didn't, because I'll use myself in as an example. When I got initiated as a priest, a lot of people were upset. Like I did lose a lot of friends, which with elevation, you will.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Because some people, you got to let them go.
Yeah.
But some people were really upset just because it wasn't them. And it's like, it's either not your time or it's not meant for you.
Right.
But that does not mean you are still not important to what you can contribute to life, or you as a person can contribute to yourself, to your family, to whoever else you come in contact with.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't take away from that.
Right.
And so it's still being that example too.
Yeah.